And now I'm not looking at my screen when the countdown finishes. Where are we? There we are. Hello, everybody. Random live stream. It's Tuesday night. It's what, 7:15. And I fancy talking to some fellow fish nerds. So we're going to do exactly that. And I'm going to go through just any questions you've got, just chuck them in the chat and we'll just have a chat. This won't be a long one. Might end up as an hour, but I'm going to try to keep it fairly short. And Saskatchewan, Canada. Hello. I think that's where you have what those big grizzly monsters that don't exist, Bigfoot, whatever it's called. Is that where they're from? Anyway. And James, regular in the house. And good evening, techers. We've had everybody. Right, we're going to get stuck straight in. And we're going to have a look through the Prestige Reef Talk Show Facebook page. If you don't watch these Sunday night live streams, we've got a Facebook page for that stream. And it's just you don't have to watch the live streams to join it. It's just a really nice, friendly group. Everyone shares some cool photos and has a bit of a chat. It's really cool. I would recommend joining it. So I'm going to go through this now. And we're going to answer just going to pull up some stuff that people have posted there and answer a few questions and show off some cool stuff that people are showing. Although, first off, we have a question from the chat. Sandovk history. Well, I will be the first to ask a question today. I have some algae in my tank. Tank is 3 months old. How long should I leave my lights on? Leave the lights on fine. That's not a problem. The algae will burn itself off eventually. But I would just leave them on. I would turn them down quite low, though. Don't know what percentage you're running. Presume you haven't got any corals in at the moment. You might have. But I would run them very low, 20% maybe, for the first couple of months. But it's inevitable, really. So the answer really is to do water changes regularly with good quality source water, ideally filtered by your own RODI filter. They're really easy, they're not expensive, and they save you money in the long run, and they give you control over your water. But get an urchin. Urchin's a wicked cleanup crew. They'll eat that, no problem, depending on what type of algae it is, but they eat pretty much everything. So, and Prestige Reef says, where's the handsome one? Well, he's sat at home somewhere looking at his coral farm. And James says, what, no beer? And to that I say, hello, Mr. Peroni. Anyway, right. Let's have a look at the Prestige Reef Talk Show Facebook page, shall we? So these are just the most recent. That's from the 1st of July. That's ages ago. These are the top posts on the chat. So I'm going to go through them. First one that I saw was this, though, which was George Michaela, who's got a water box Infinia tank, a 125.6. 125.6, that doesn't sound right. The Waterbox Infinia range, the reason I looked at this was because the Waterbox Infinia is a relatively new range of tanks, I think. And I was looking at them today and I noticed a while ago, Waterbox, they had a live stream where they said, someone asked them if they're ever going to do a removable filter sock section. And they went, nah, no plans, we're not going to bother with it. Not really interested, which I thought was a bit of a shame. Missed opportunity, because loads of people want automatic filter rollers now, and not many people want filter socks. So nice to have options for both. And on the new Waterbox Infinia, there is a removable filter sock section. So they've snuck that in. This, to me, I don't know what that is, though. 125.6. So their naming conventions, normally the 125 is the gallons and the 6 is the feet. So 125 gallon 6 foot. That doesn't look like that to me. So I wonder if that's a 125.3 maybe. I don't know, 125.4? 125.4 sounds better. It doesn't look like a 6 footer. But anyway, cool tank. I like the look of those. I think they look good. Next one. Thoughts on Mark Swan asks for thoughts on flame angels. Prestige. Where is he? If he was here, he'd be able to give you some really useful insight, but he's not. So I've never had one. Prestige has had, I think he had a pair at one stage. He certainly had more than one, and he really likes them. I love them, but I'm always scared they're going to nip corals. From what I can gather from looking around and having researched and tried to persuade myself 1,000 times that I should get one, they're probably about a 50-50 chance that they might nip at something. Anything fleshy LPS with angels is generally at risk, but I don't know. There are some that plenty of people report them to be just about reef safe or 90% reef safe, and they only nip at the occasional thing. If you get one, it's a risk, so it might go for something. But if you have a fish trap, excuse me, if you have a fish trap and they go rogue, they should be relatively easy to catch because they're quite inquisitive. So if you put something with like algae or zoas on it or whatever in the fish trap, they're likely to go in fairly quickly. So they're cool fish, though, really cool fish, to be fair. Next question. This is from Mark Brown. Anyone know what coral this is? Now, this looked like it looks like a kind of, is that a xenia maybe? It looks a bit sad because it looks a bit shriveled, but it doesn't have like it's got like the polyps of like a toadstool. And I just realized I've taken it off the page. It's got the polyps of a toadstool, but it's not a toadstool because it hasn't got the base. So it looks to me like a xenia. There's a xenia called a xenia elongata, maybe. And that could be that. I think that's xenia elongata has just got long polyps, I think. So it could be that, but I don't really know. So yeah, better photo would be good because that's quite a blue photo. And so you can't see what color it is, but I reckon it's probably pulsing xenia. If it's doing this, just with all the flow off, it's pulsing xenia. Any recommendations, asks Charlie Wilson, for a budget RODI unit? When you say budget, what do you mean? How much money are you looking to spend? Let's have a look and see what you've replied. You've not replied anything. So I would say if you're looking for budget, I would guess you're talking less than £100 or $100. And you can probably get a fairly simple one for that kind of price. In fact, 4-stage RODI filter. Let me have a look and see what I would buy. Osmotics. There's a few websites in the UK that I would use. Osmotics. What's the one in Scotland? Someone tell me what the one in Scotland's called. Aquati. Yeah, Aquati. Are relatively cheap. And this one is Osmotics. So I use Viair, but they are quite expensive. And even that, actually, that's quite expensive. 125 quid for a 4-stage, 100 gallon per day. So it's got quite a big size membrane. But really you want to buy a booster pump as well, which is probably about 50 quid. So that's already quite expensive. You should be able to get a 4-stage system, maybe not 100 gallon per day, but you should be able to get a 4-stage system. So that's a pre-filter, which is just a foam pad, a carbon block, which filters out a load of rubbish, a membrane, which is obviously really important, and an RODI, a DI stage. Those are the 4 stages. You should be able to get one of those for less than 100 quid. Trouble is, though, if it's a 50 gallon per day one, 50 gallon per day doesn't really mean anything. And actually, what you get from that kind of size is a real slow trickle. So it'll take you an hour to make a litre or something. So you might have to leave it on overnight, but that's fine. And if you buy that now and then when you save a bit of cash, sell a couple of corals or whatever, you can buy a booster pump. And booster pumps are just brilliant for RODI filters. Let's go back to the chat, the proper chat, for a sec, and see what we've got. We have got, have you ever thought about owning jellyfish? No. Prestige always talks about how boring they are. And they just look, there was a video I saw not that long ago of a jellyfish tank. It was like some expensive, it was like a lifestyle aquarium brand. I can't remember what they were called. But it just looked, I bet it was the sort of thing that looked amazing. And if you had that in your living room for the first like 3 days, it would be the best thing you've ever bought in your life. And then after that, it would start to get algae on it, and the flow would be either too strong or not strong enough. And then you'd have to feed it. And then when you feed it, all the food would settle to the bottom, and then you'd have to do water changes and clean it out. And it looked like it would be the 2 best days of ownership of that tank, of a jellyfish tank, would be the day you buy it and the day you sell it. So no, doesn't interest me at all. And Paul Jeffries asks, what is the best piece of equipment you have bought? Probably, I mean, I could tell you something really boring, to be fair, because there are some things I use all the time. Do you know what? I use this little pipette. This is a TMC pipette that you can get from any fish shop for like £1. You probably get it on Amazon for 50p. And I just use it to fill up. This is what I put my frozen food in. So there's 1 cube of frozen in there. And when I take these out of the freezer, I use a pipette to fill with water and then pour the water in there to defrost it. I do that all the time. So actually, that's probably a really good bit of kit. But if you want to spend a bit more money, Reflow Auto Water Changer has just been fantastic. I'd like to set up an auto water changer with proper dosing pumps like the Ecotech Versa. 2 of them, maybe the GHL Maxi, or I would go for the Neptune one, but you've got to buy the Neptune Apex and all that sort of stuff as well. So, but some kind of auto water changer with dosing pumps would be cool. But probably if I had to pin myself down, best piece of equipment, Reflow Auto Water Changer. It just means that I never miss a water change. They're really good. They're quite expensive, about 250 quid, I think. So they are a lot of money, and they're not high tech. And they're just built by a bloke in a shed in England, but they're brilliant. They're really, really good. And It's not sexy, but it's a really good piece of equipment that helps with maintenance. And if you do water changes every week, then you're likely to be more successful. Stafford Reefer is battling cyanobacteria. He has high nitrates and phosphates, using lanthanum for the phos, which is working, but was using Nopox for the nitrates, which I'm worried is feeding the cyano. I don't know if it'll be feeding the cyano, right? Maybe it will. I don't think it does. But the answer is, so cyanobacteria doesn't like flow. So you might not have enough flow in your tank. On that tank, the Fluval Evo, I had cyanobacteria, and that's part of the reason I added a second power head. And people lose their minds when they see I've got 2 power heads in there. But it's not too much flow. It just isn't. It's actually, one of them is at 100%, one of them's at 50%. And the corals, they're swaying nicely. They're really good. And after I added that second pump, the detritus on the sand bed just disappeared. So more flow is always good for cyano. Balance out your nitrates and phosphates. So you might be overfeeding. Best way to reduce phosphate is to feed less if you're overfeeding. Do more water changes. Make sure you've got good quality source water. And worst case scenario, if after a few months when you've got your nitrates and phosphates back into a reasonable level and you've got your flow up and it's still not going away, then you might want to look at ChemiClean. But there are some people who report it doesn't do well with corals. So if you've got a load of corals in your tank, in my main tank, I wouldn't risk a ChemiClean treatment. I did when I first started that tank about, I don't know, a year in, and it was fine. I had a few corals in and it was fine. They were all okay. I even had a clam in and that was fine. But now when it's packed full, 5 years old, there's no way on God's green earth I'd risk it. So you've got some options. And I think you need a skimmer. Well, you do need a skimmer if you're using ChemiClean. So if you don't have a skimmer, don't use ChemiClean. Is there anything to do while waiting for a fallow period to end other than looking after your other tank? Buy a motorbike and go and pull some wheelies, because that's good fun. Question. Can a reef breeder's 24-inch with... Hang on. Can a reef breeder's 24-inch with 2 cheap 32-inch bars, light bars, successfully? I think you're saying is that, I mean, what tank is it for a start? If it's a 3-foot tank, maybe. The reef breeders, I had the what was it called, Evergrow, which is basically, as far as I can see, it's the same as the reef breeders. They might have tweaked a couple of the LEDs, but it's the same thing more or less. Won't be any significant difference. And they're fantastic. I absolutely love them. They are a massively underrated light. They're getting a little bit expensive now, so they're getting to the point where I struggle to recommend them over one of the posher brands, but they are really, really good. It's just the only problem with them is that the spread is really poor. So if this is the panel of lights here, you don't get any outside of where the physical body of the light is. The spread is really weak, so the par isn't great. So you want a tank covered. And the reason I'm saying that, because you're going for light bars, which will give you the width, which is great, and cover the spread wideways. But lengthways, 24-inch, if it's a 36-inch tank, I personally want more than that. But ultimately, it'll just mean that you've got less light at either end of your tank. So if you have an aquascape that doesn't require light at either end because you don't have rocks there, then maybe that's fine. But I would have if you can get the full coverage from an Evergrow, they're brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And 2, in fact, one of my best setups, and I've had a few setups obviously on my main tank, was 2 Evergrow IT 5012s, which is the 4-foot ones, and then 2 Kessel A360 WEs in the middle. If they were 2 Kessel A 500Xs, that would be, I think, perfection, or certainly close to it. They're brilliant. But they are getting expensive, like I say. And the reef breeders ones in particular are very expensive because there's another company with the Evergrow stuff. There's not another company putting profit on it, and reef breeders have got to make money to justify it. So they do get more expensive. I like weird fish. You were asking about weird fish the other day. If I get harlequin shrimp, to cure my coral-eating Asterina problem. Will they eat my brittle star? No, they don't eat brittle stars. But Asterinas are just so easy to get rid of. You don't need a harlequin shrimp. Go down in the morning at 7 in the morning or whatever when you first wake up. They'll be all over the glass of your tank, especially if you leave the algae to grow for a couple of days on the glass, and then you can just scrape them out. I used to just manually remove them, slide my hand up against the glass, put them in a jug, and if you do that 5 days in a row, or even for a couple of weeks, a couple of days in a row, it'll get rid of them, no problem. And harlequin shrimp, they die. They literally can't eat anything other than starfish, as you might well know. And it's just watching them. They don't, if they when they run out of food, they just sit still in the corner of your tank waiting for food, and it's because there's nothing coming. It's heartbreaking. So it's really not good, and I wish they wouldn't import them anymore, to be honest. If you can buy them from other hobbyists, that's better, but I wish they wouldn't import them, and they're quite important on the reefs as well. How did you Brits get the day off? I wish I had the day off. I did not have the day off, but I've given myself the day off making a YouTube video because I can't be bothered. So I'm just going to chill out. Pompey Reefer, play up Pompey. Hi Alex, I'm thinking of getting into the whole calc game. Oh yes, come on. Any recommend? Oh my word, I've had the microphone over there all the time. Sorry guys. Amateur hour. I'm thinking of getting into the whole calc game. Any recommendations for a doser? I was going to get an H2 Ocean Pro 4, but realize it's not rated for continuous duty. If you can get if you've got the budget, all continuous duty ones are quite expensive. The Ecotech Versa is really good. At some point on the Reef Talk Extra channel, I'm going to do a video review of the Versa for Kalkwasser, not just generally, but specifically for Kalkwasser. But it's very, very good. And it is rated for continuous duty. It's silent, certainly at the rate that you'll be using it to dose Kalkwasser. So they are very good. There's the Kamoa STP X4, STP something. That's bugging me now. I need to know what it is. Kamoa FX STP, I think it is. FX STP, yeah. It's a massive, it's a beast. It is a unit. In fact, that's more expensive than the Versa. That's crazy. You can get these on AliExpress much cheaper, and it's the exact same thing. And it's huge, that thing. Absolutely massive. It's like the size of your head. Big, heavy, solid piece of kit. Heavy is good. Heavy is sign of reliability. So they're good as well, but they're actually they're not as good as the Versa, because with the Versa you can say, if you want to dose 2 liters overnight, you can say please dose 2 liters between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. and it'll work out the dose. Whereas with the Kamoa, it will just say how fast do you want to dose, 1 milliliter per minute, 2 milliliters per minute, etc. And you've got to work it out, and it's just a bit more fiddly. It's fine, and if you can be bothered to sit down for 5 minutes, then it's cool. But the Versa is really good, and it's actually, for a continuous duty dosing pump, it's not that expensive, and I think it's probably fairly reasonably priced. Do you have any reefing photography tips? I do, James, and I'm glad you've asked. Let me see if I can do a live demonstration. Let me find a really rubbish photo I've taken of the tank and see if I can show you how I can make it better. Trouble is, most of my photos I probably already run through some kind of software, so no. But there's an app called Snapseed, and what I'll do instead, actually, I'll just do a random photo. This is one of Zoanthid's. Snapseed, right? And this is a quick tutorial that will help you. So when you go into Snapseed, that is Snapseed. You want to press. This is when you first put a photo into Snapseed. You want to press Tools, Tune Image. Oh God, it's really difficult to see the other way around. Oh, hang on. Tools, Tune Image, top corner, and then that little 3 bars at the bottom there, that's your settings, and it's got all of these. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 7 settings, 7 sliders to play with, and you don't need to be concerned about most of them. The first one is the bottom one is warmth, and that is the one that you want to turn up. So if you turn it up, come on, focus on the thing. So there you go. You can see that's taken away all the blue completely. Whereas if I turn it back to where it was before, there's loads of blue light there, and then it disappears. And that is a better reflection of what the coral actually looks like. So you want to play with the warmth, and also it's probably worth playing with the saturation a tiny bit, but I really mean a tiny bit, because if you put too much saturation in, it goes crazy, which is what some unscrupulous vendors do on eBay. But if you go for less than 20 saturation, it just makes the coral look a bit brighter and more lifelike. It's not just making it look crazy. So Snapseed is a brilliant app for that, and just those 2 sliders will make the world of difference. But just for general basics, no reflection, so you want all lights off in your living room, all your windows and curtains shut. Your missus will love this. with the camera pointing straight ahead, no angle whatsoever. I don't care if you don't get the proper photo, any angle will just ruin, because going through the glass it refracts and it looks awful. So dead straight, no reflections, lights up nice and high, 100%. If you've got like the Reef factory app, there's a really quick photo button. I think the same with Mobius. What else do I need to tell you? Top down is really good. Turn off all the flow if you're going top down. But those are the basics, I think. Really try not to zoom in, because I'm assuming you're using a camera phone. Most camera phones don't do very well when they zoom in. Certainly not digital zoom. If it's optical zoom, that's not so bad. There you go. I hope that helps. ML Rubber just started dosing calc live stream. Is it normal within the first week for alkalinity to drop? Well, I mean, if you've never been dosing anything before, then yes, because if you've got a load of corals, they'll be consuming alkalinity and you're not putting in enough. So that all that means really is that you're not dosing enough. I think I saw this question the other day, actually. I can't remember where I saw it, but I didn't reply to it. But you want to make sure you're testing at the same time each day. So if you're testing at 10 p.m. one day and then 8 a.m. the next day, you'll get a different reading. So test at the same time point every day, 10 p.m. for example, every day, to get a true reading. And if it's still dropping, it just means you're not dosing enough calculator. That's the best way to know how much calculator to dose, is if your alkalinity is at 6 and you want to boost it a little bit, which you do, and maintain it, then keep increasing the amount of calculator you dose. Start very slow, keep increasing it until the alkalinity starts to creep up. Go really slow, because you don't want it to shoot up. And then when it gets to 7, that's where you want to peg it, or 7 or 8 or 9, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Peg it there, and then if the alkalinity goes up, you're dosing too much calculator. If it goes down, you're not dosing enough. And it takes a couple of weeks of trial and error, so you've got to test every day for a couple of weeks. But it's really easy. Just got to make sure you're testing the same day. But alkalinity to drop. The other thing with that is actually one thing I found with when I started dosing calculator. Oh my God, did my alkalinity drop? I was also dosing 2-part, and I had to dose. Was it double? I think I had to dose double the amount of 2-part I was dosing before, because the pH boost that you get from calculator, if you're dosing enough of it, is so huge that your corals just like wake up and start growing like crazy. So that's possibly another reason why it might be going down. That was my experience. And it was a real eye opener. Like suddenly you're watching your corals and you're like, is it growing in front of me? They're wicked. Gouldy 39. I'm hoping to go SPS only in my tank. What's a good starter coral that I'm not going to regret a year down the line? Yeah. The thing is, with encrusting corals, I always talk about Tropic Thunder Monty and how much I hate it. It's such a lovely coral, and I only regret it. My tank's not 6 years old now. I only regretted it 3 or 4 years down the line. So you might just want to go for that, because most people don't have a tank that long, and you might think that you want to upgrade or strip it down and start again. But anyway, if you really don't want to go down that route, isolate an encrusting Monty, that's totally fine, or a plating Monty. But anything, the what's it called, barley green slimer is a really good one. There's loads of shops that sell it, and it's been in the hobby for years, so it's bomb proof. Well, it's not bomb proof, but it's hardy for an SPS coral. So that's probably the one I'd go for. I don't like the growth pattern. They're quite thick, and they're like, when it grows and you want to frag it, my God, you need Marius Pujanowski to like snap it in half. They're thick, but they're probably quite good, and they're really bright. They are a cool coral, and if you get the water parameters right, your pH is right, and your phosphate's not too high, and all that, they get really nice polyp extension too. So that's probably the one I would suggest. Chris Kenny, wasn't there a cyclist called Chris Kenny? I'm using natural seawater. Algae is 7.8. I have a Red Sea. Oh, S1000 G2. Very nice tank. I want my algae to be around 9 to 10. But I can't get it up dosing Red Sea algae 300 milliliters. Should I change my salt? If you're dosing that much, so I don't use Red Sea algae, but if you're dosing that much, it's precipitating. That's a hell of a lot. So I don't know how concentrated that is. I use a very concentrated solution of ATI Essentials, and I dose about, is it 125? About, let's say 100 millimeters per day for the sake of argument. And that's in a tank packed full of SPS corals, admittedly smaller than your tank, but it's jam-packed full of big, old corals. So if you're dosing 300 ml a day, it might be precipitating out. So you might be dosing it at the same time as your calcium. So because you're supposed to dose them 10 minutes apart so they don't just blend into one and ruin each other. That feels there's something not going right there. So I would post photos of your dosing setup, where it's going and all that, on a Facebook group. You could post it on the Prestige Reef Talk Show Facebook group. I don't tend to reply to there very much, but there'll be people who might be able to help you out anyway. So that sounds wrong. And I don't. But why do you want to get your alk up to 10? Because if your natural seawater is what, that's presumably, hang on, it's 7.8. Surprised that high, but okay, if it's 7.8, what if you're doing water changes with that? Why not just run your alk at 8? Because alk isn't going to do anything. It's not, your tank's not going to be any healthier at 9 to 10. BRS say they did say, look, there's a correct answer to alk. It should be 9, because then that gives you a buffer to swing either way, and that's a fair point. But it really doesn't matter. I run my alk around 8. I run my alk on all my tanks between 7 and 9. So as long as it's around there, I don't really care. As long as it's not swinging, that's the most important thing. So I personally wouldn't bother getting up that high, but you're doing something wrong with your dosing, I reckon, unless your tank is absolutely chock full of corals, fast-growing corals. Is a Foxface reef safe in a mixed reef with hammers, torches, plus various SPS? Yes and no. So they're a risk. It's the same with most fish like this. They're a risk. From what I understand, I've had 3, 4 Foxfaces. Well, rabbit fish, sorry. One of them is not a Foxface, but I've had a few. And I've never had any problems with them. Never had them nip corals. Not that I've seen anywhere, and I don't think they have done when I've not been looking. But yeah, they are a risk, especially with LPS. Sometimes with zoas as well, but it's a low risk. It's kind of like where a flame angel might be a 50-50. A Foxface is like a 1 in 10, maybe even lower. I think actually probably even lower. But there'll come a point, supposedly when they get a bit older. I had one that for about 5 years, he was fine. That's not that old. But when they get a bit older, that's supposedly when they can start to go, those acans look tasty. Those expensive ones you just put in, you spent 200 quid on. So yeah, they'll probably be, I would be absolutely 100% comfortable trying it. But again, it's a risk. You might get the 1 out of 10 that's a dickhead. So be ready to catch him if you can. Someone's asking about head and line lateral. HLLE. I don't know anything about it. I'm afraid I've never had it. No carbon in the tank. Yeah, feed Noe daily. Doesn't look like it's getting worse. I've got no idea. I've never had it, I'm afraid. Crizzle, is that the jellyfish tank I was thinking? Maybe, I don't. What else have we got then? I'm friends with the jellyfish aquarist at the Georgia Aquarium. Cool. She loves them, but thinks they're not worth all the money for hobbyists. Exactly. I think that's probably a fair point. In Georgia Aquarium's huge as well. Not being, but it's huge. But in a proper aquarium, they probably look cool. In a little tank, they probably look rubbish. Like this thing. So this used to be behind me, of course, a little fake jellyfish tank. And people always like, oh, where'd you get your jellyfish from? And it's just a 20 quid thing off Amazon. It's rubbish as well. There's a pump in there that's supposed to make them go around like this, but they don't. They just sit at the top. So it's not very good. Top beginner corals for absolute beginners. Excuse me. It depends what you want, really. I was thinking of doing this topic for the next live stream. And the topic was going to be the best. I can't think of a way to describe this in like 5 words, but it's got to be, I want to talk about corals that are really hardy, but also not really boring. So the best combination of those two. So hardy, but still not boring. If you just want hardy, a toadstool is really good. Capnella, also known as Kenya tree. But a toadstool is probably what I'd go for, because you can't kill them. It's like them and cockroaches would survive a nuclear holocaust. So something like that. If you want something a bit more sexy, zoas, but don't buy single polyp zoas because they'll probably melt. Zoas are hardy, but there are some zoas can just melt for no reason, and they're a bit frustrating. So they're not as hardy as toadstools. GSP, the one over my shoulder, that's a really good one as well. Even if the water quality's off, it'll sulk for weeks on end, but it won't die. Will die eventually, of course, if you don't fix your water. But GSP is probably the king, I would say, of the best balance between hardy but not really boring. Although if you like the look of toadstools, get a toadstool because they're pretty hardy. They're just not my cup of tea. Kane Chand, apart from the essential products such as lights, heater, wave makers, etc., what is the most beneficial product in your opinion? The reflow water change. Anything that makes you do maintenance, makes maintenance more easily, especially water changes. In fact, RADI filter. I changed my answer to the early question. An RADI filter is probably the best piece of equipment anybody could buy if you don't have one, because it gives you control over your water quality, and that's all that matters in this hobby, really, or 90% of it anyway. So RADI filter, 100%, and it will save you money. The amount of money RADI water or salt water that you buy costs you over time. You don't need to take long. In fact, when I first set up my first tank, it was a 3-foot tank, and I spent more money buying salt water than the cost of an RADI filter. And I just didn't want to do it. I was nervous about it. But actually, it's one of those things that when you buy it, you think, oh, why was I scared about it? You spend half an hour setting it up and connecting it, follow the instructions, and it's easy. So RADI filters, they're absolutely fantastic. Techers is getting his first torch coral tomorrow. Any tips, etc.? As I've never had one. Any tips? Nice water quality, not too much light, not too much flow. But the only real thing I'd say is water quality, and don't blast any coral with too much light. Torch corals can take more stronger light than most LPS corals, but LPS corals don't like strong light. So for now, start it in low light or low to medium, 100 par if you've got a par meter. If not, in this tank, that's probably I've got a torch at the top there, and that's probably getting about 180 par, but that's just because that's the only spot for it. So less than that would be ideal. If you've got a tank like that, somewhere on the bottom would be good. If you've got a bigger tank with lower lights, turn your lights nice and low intensity, halfway down maybe. But no real, they can be a bit of, they're one of those corals that some people say are beginner corals. I don't think they are. They can be really easy, and if you get lucky, you'll be like, what's the fuss? They're a piece of cake. But if you don't get lucky, they're a pain in the arse, and they can die for no reason when everything else is fine, and be quite frustrating. So I don't think they're a beginner coral, but they are cool coral, especially the price you have to pay for some of them. But no, I mean, just see how you get on. Good water quality, water changes, the usual. The thing is with that, with any coral, specific advice, there will always be some corals where that you will have specific advice. In fact, most of them. But really, the answer is 99% of what you need is the basics. Get your water quality right, nutrients relatively low for most part. A bit more for torches, not too much light, plenty of flow. That's about it. Probably some other things. Martin Bro has just tested and has PO4 at 0.03 and nitrates of 0.1. Thinking my nitrates need up a bit. I would agree, but don't panic. But don't just want to throw more food in. Any tips or advice? I'd love to know what tank it is, what fish you got in there, what corals you got in there, all that sort of stuff, what your filtration is. But if you want it as a short-term thing, you can dose nitrate. Have I got nitrate here? No, I was dosing nitrate very briefly onto the Fluval Evo when my nitrates got to that kind of level. But I wouldn't panic. It's not the end of the world. But you can, NIOS Nitrate Plus, I think it's called, is the stuff I use. It's not that expensive. It'll last you ages. I've had a bottle for a long time. And that's certainly in the short term, as long as you don't just chuck in too much. There's a tiny bit, test again the next day, because low nitrates isn't going to cause you problems overnight. So don't worry about it if it's still the same in a week's time, but just dose nitrate slowly. That's probably the best way. But you might be over filtering. So if you've got a really effective protein skimmer, you've got a refugium, you've got a filter roller, then take one of those things out. And in fact, on this tank, I might be replacing the Fluval Evo soon, which is actually, in a way, a bit of a shame, but also quite cool. But there's a sponge filter there, just a bit of sponge. That's the only filtration I've got in the tank, basically. If I kept that long term, I'd take that filter out. So there's just no filtration whatsoever. And the only filtration is water changes. So yeah, less filtration, maybe dose, but I don't know why. I just don't see dosing nitrate as a long-term solution. Oh, you're talking to someone else. Just for calc, it's Fluval Evo. Can't remember what you were. Let's go back and ask your question. Let's see what your question was for. Is it normal for it to drop initially? Oh, right. Yeah. I think I've already answered that in that case. Connor Gajewski, something like that. Do you or anyone have good experience keeping arrow crabs? No one in the world has a good experience keeping arrow crabs. Need to control bristleworms. Oh, bristleworms are good. Why do you want to hate on the bristleworms, man? They're good. That's all there is to it. And invasive nudies. I wonder what the nudibranchs are. An arrow crab probably isn't the answer to that. Wrasses are a better answer to that. Yeah, I wouldn't go for an arrow crab. They look cool as hell, but they're nasty. Roaphos seems to the end of my cyano, but I'm uneducated on that. It won't just be as simple as adding Roaphos to get it. That will have obviously reduced your phosphate. So maybe you had high phosphate, low nitrate, whatever I think. But it's not that on its own is not a cure. Do you prefer high-end dollar aquapora stuff or the cheaper end? High-end, to be honest, for the most part. Some corals like the GSP, that was, I don't know, 20 quid. It's lovely. It's so nice. In fact, let me find a photo of it that I have posted on my Instagram page. Come on, where is it? Oh, man, maybe I've not posted one for a little while. But it's just... No, it was the other day. It was one of my... I can't remember. But it's lovely. It's so nice. Especially under blue lights. So some corals like that, cheap stuff are really nice, but I do tend to like the higher end stuff. But I like what I like, and what I find now when I go into a shop, don't look at just like if you can go into a what's it called, a chandlery? Is that a horse shop? A horse shop, all right. Buy a pair of blinkers, horse blinkers, and wear them to the local fish shop. People will think you're weird, but trust me with it. Wear them, and then just set them so you can't see the price or the name of the coral, and then just be like, right, which one do I like? Do that, choose the one you like, and then take it to the counter and go, how much is it? That's the best way to do it, because then you're not swayed. No matter what you say, people are swayed by sexy names and high prices. If you see a coral that's expensive, you go, well, that must be nice. So just try to ignore that. You don't have to use a blinker trick. Might not work. But yeah, I generally prefer higher end stuff, but I tend to go into a shop and I buy what I like. I went to Signature Frags, which is a really good place in the UK, more of a higher end shop, but they do have some cheapish stuff. And I just went in and I was like, I don't want no prices. I really like that coral. I really like that coral. Turns out most of them were quite expensive, to be fair. But it's so easy to be swayed by prices. And sometimes you'll see a price and a sexy name and you're like, oh, Walt Disney. Yeah, 500 quid. Yeah, I need that. So small, cheap corals can be beautiful as well. And in fact, this one is mostly filled with cheaper corals, the flea lever. ZZ, setting up my first saltwater tank a week ago. After it's cycled, what fish do you suggest? Clownfish. Was planning on adding clowns. Yeah. Oh, anemone. Anemones are, a challenge. I've never had one because I don't want the challenge. But clownfish, absolutely 100% should be the first fish for any new tank, in my opinion, because they're hardy. So if you do have an ammonia spike, they can take it better than other fish. That doesn't mean you should be careless and throw caution to the wind. You're not, of course, but you should always make sure that you've got zero ammonia and all that sort of stuff. But if there is a problem, a clownfish can take it a lot better, which sometimes happens. It happens to me, it happens to everybody. Clownfish can take it a lot better, so they're less likely to die. And they're just a cool fish. Although these guys have started nibbling me. Then if you saw my most recent update, as soon as I put my hand in the tank, in fact, I'll demonstrate it now. Shall I demonstrate? No, I don't want to get bitten. So that's a bit annoying. But they don't always do that. My clowns in my main tank don't do that, and they live in this little zoa. And when I pull the zoa out to frag it, they don't even bite me then. So they're not all bad. And I've had them for years. And they're big. Mrs. Clownfish is like the size of your fist. She could take a punch. I have a Red Sea 250, which has 2 clowns. Any life? Is that it all? You must be new. Any livestock recommendations? I've already watched Reef Talk's video, but nothing catches my eye. Go on liveaquaria.com and look at, just go through all the fish on there. That's what I always do when I'm looking for inspiration, because they've got not every fish, but loads of fish available, and it'll give you inspiration. It's a really good website. They don't ship to the UK, of course. It's America only. So if you're in America, you can buy from them as well. Never use them, so I don't know if they're any good or not, but they're brilliant for inspiration. Really, really good website. C3DP, apart from replacement, any idea how to stop the missus moaning about the tank? Yeah, I'm afraid Prestige Reef and I have different views on this. You simply need to replace the old lady, I'm afraid. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Or if it's if you're a lady and your bloke is moaning about it, same. He's got to go. That's all there is to it. What's more important, the love of your life or a glass box with a few fish in it? It's a question you've got to ask yourself. What else are we going on? Never Days 2-part. Oh, you're still asking stuff. Question: if I get harlequin, no, don't get harlequin. I'm not answering that. I'm not encouraging harlequin shrimp, so I'm not going to answer that. I'm actually going to answer it. If I get harlequin shrimp to cure my coral eating asteroids, will they eat my bristles? I've already answered that, for heaven's sake. Right, we're moving on. let's scroll down and squeeze past. Yes, please, for that calc video. Presume you're talking about the reverse one. It's not. There's not much to it, to be honest. When I put videos on my Reef Talk Extra channel, I do it because they don't take much time because there's not that much, but there is some useful stuff to share. But there are a couple of downsides you need to know about. It tells you that your calc container, you can tell the Versa how much liquid's in there. So if you've got a 20-litre container, you can tell it there's 20 litres. But there's almost no point in that, because the point of that in most apps, most dosing pumps, is that when it gets down too low, it will tell you that you need to top it up. The Versa doesn't do that, which is just so frustrating. But that's probably the worst thing about the Versa, and it's not a deal breaker, it's just annoying. Do you have any strawberry shortcake for sale? No, I haven't fragged it for a little while, and I might do at some point, but no, if I ever have stuff for sale, it'll be on ultimatereef.co.net. Sorry, I don't sell stuff on here as much, or ever. I don't want it to become a sales pitch. Best first nano tank, Fluval C Evo or Waterbox Nano. I really like the Fluval Evo. The little Waterbox tanks are lovely as well. I like the dimensions of the Evo. I just think it's a really nice looking tank, as in like a nice piece of furniture. I like that it's long and thin. It's just a cool tank, and it's got the filtration chambers are fine. It's just a good tank, and it's not expensive. I would go for the Fluval C, 13.5 over because the Waterbox I think are more expensive, and I don't like the dimensions as such. I looked at loads of tanks like the Waterbox ones for that, and I probably could have got a Waterbox for free if I'd have asked around. But I prefer the dimensions of this to the Waterbox ones. Waterbox are lovely, and if you've got that, if that's the size, if that's the space you want to put it in, and that's another key thing, then get one to fit the space. But yeah, well, I really like the Fluval Evo. I think it's a really good tank. And this guy says Innovative Marine Lagoon 25. I was looking at them the other day, I think. Yeah, I was. Yeah. Oh, what's his name? There's an English YouTuber. He had a Fluval Evo, and Gary Willard, Nathan Willard, I can't remember his name. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I think he's got an IM Lagoon 25. It's a cool tank. The Skipmeister was wondering my opinion on using dried live sand, e.g. live sand that has been, well, it's dead. So without rinsing it, any live sand you don't rinse because you don't want to get rid of the stuff that you're paying money for. That, in my opinion, I don't know if it's worth it anyway. BRS did a test and showed that it was, but I'm not really that taken by it. But any dry sand you want to rinse, because the chance are it'll have metals in it, and will that metal, the metals often, if you run a magnet through it and the metal sticks to the magnet, then it's ferrous metal, which means it will rust. They're tiny little flakes, so would that cause any problems? Maybe, maybe not. Do you want to risk it? So I would always rinse. I would always firstly run a magnet through any dry sand, and then I would rinse it. Just put it in a bucket in your sink, turn the tap on for half an hour, and let it run clean. And put your hand in and like get rid of all the turn it over. It's well worth doing it as well. I would never not do that. When the first time you run a magnet through a bag of brand new sand that you've just paid 50 quid for, it's like, right, I'm never not doing that again. What's the best brand of Nopox? Well, Nopox is a brand. It's Red Sea stuff. I don't like all of those Nopox. What's the Tropic Marine ones called? All the carbon dosing ones. I don't like them because they're very aggressive. And if you use them properly, they're brilliant. But if you take your eye off the ball and you don't test regularly, even skip a week or two, they can be really super aggressive, and they can strip your nitrates and phosphates completely down to zero. So, and that's user error. And I did that. It was my fault, but it gave me DNA flagellates in an established tank, and I don't like it. It's just if you take your eye off the ball with testing, even 6 months down the line, I don't know. It's just not for me. There are plenty of people who like them, but it's not for me. None of them. A double live stream. What are some fun tank mates with clowns in a 25-gallon? That's a good question. I've been pondering the question myself. I might be getting is it 25-gallon? About 25-gallon tank, on my list, and I have a list over here. It is, I'm likely to move on the clownfish. Don't tell them. I'm going to move on the clownfish because they're a bit too aggressive. It's all right, we're good. And I'm going to be getting a firefish, maybe one of them fancy Helfrikies, but maybe a purple firefish. Having said the other day they look like a blow-up doll. A shrimp goby of some kind, a Wheeler's or a Randall's goby there. I think they're really cool. And they look a bit less delicate to me than the really nice ones like the Hyphen and the Vampire Dracula goby. And a blenny of some kind, maybe a Pictus blenny, although any of those bristle-tooth blennies can be a risk with corals. And the other option is a Royal Grammar. Royal Grammars are just wicked. I love Royal Grammars, actually. So those are the ones I would go for. Maybe a Hyphen geometric pygmy perchlet. They've got like 5 different names, and I've probably just merged 2 into one, but they're really cool and they don't require a lot of space. So obviously not all of those guys, but that's the list I would look at. Pause for a sip of lager. Oh, it's gone warm. Disappointing. I need to drink that more. Phalos. Sounds Greek to me. Hi Alex. Can you show the list? List the books you have in the background. Been wondering about the algae one for a while now. Yeah, the algae one. So one of them is Ultramarine magazine, and I've got a subscription to that, so there'll be a few more of those over time. It's quarterly, so not that many. The algae one is Algae, a Problem Solver's Guide by Julian Sprung, and I bought this and I've never read it, but I'm sure it's very good. Julian Sprung is, he knows his stuff, doesn't he? And the other one is The Conscientious Marine Aquarist by Bob Fenner. Let me see if I get out of the way if it'll focus on it now. Right? The Conscientious Marine Aquarist by Bob Fenner, which is a classic book, but it is quite outdated now. It'll talk about the Berlin method. So it'll just say you need a skimmer, and then like 99% of your tank should be live rock. Which isn't necessarily bad advice. It just causes problems, and there are better ways of doing it. And the other one is The YouTube Formula by Daryl Eves, which again I haven't read. Maybe if I read that, my channel would have 1 million subscribers and I'd be able to quit my job and go full time. But that's what they are. Tropic Thunder. No, James, you're as bad as Les. Right, I'm going to straighten up my books because that's bugging me already. Talk amongst yourselves. Roberto Reno has been subscribed for 3. I've been subscribed from 3 years ago. Welcome along. Thank you for staying so long. Was really upgrading my tank and was wondering what I could do to increase that shimmering. Oh, Kessel, mate. Kessel. You might already have Kessels, but Kessels are just the best for shimmer, full stop. I don't care what anybody else says. Kessels are just so good for shimmer. You want more water surface movement equals more shimmer as well. So you could, if your outlet of your return pump is down, as in the outlet in the tank, point it upwards. If you've got pointy uppy power heads, point them up as well. But yeah, Kessels and surface movement are what are good for shimmer. Metal halides are actually the best for shimmer, to be fair, but they're a bad idea in my opinion for 99% of people. Ethan Ferrer with a nice Scully as his profile picture. I'm just gonna have a sip of beer. Oh my God, 48 minutes, and I thought we'd been going an hour. Where exactly would you recommend having a torch garden in terms of rock area light flow? Currently have a torch that has 4 heads and 3 are usually open while the 4 is closed. Yeah, unhealthy. It's probably water quality rather than light or flow. They don't like too much flow blasting at them. Really don't like that. No coral does. But where would I recommend having them? Middle of it depends how strong your light is and that sort of stuff. But I mean, just that you don't want them to have too much light. Middle of the tank is probably the best place for most LPS tanks, assuming you're not running your tank lights super high, because you shouldn't really run any lights super high on any tank, even on my tank. My main tank with me packed full of SPS corals, I have 4 Refactory Flare Pro Blue Spectrum M's, which is massive overkill. That's too many. But what percentage are they running at? 35%. So you don't want too much light in most tanks. You want spread, you want coverage, but you don't want intensity for the most part. Someone else, I saw. Oh yeah, by the way, Alex, if you really want
Alex, really like the Google Pixel you got. Seems it's really helpful for photo taking. I actually don't think it's very good for reef photos. It's always rated as, I got it because people bang on about it's the best camera for photography, but for photos of your tank, I don't find it's very good. I had a Samsung S22 Ultra, like the top end Samsung one, and that's a lot cheaper and actually not really much worse. I had the top end Samsung one. It had a pro mode, which this doesn't have, and that pro mode was much better because you could adjust the white balance. That was much better for taking photos of your tank. The Pixel is, you just need to do some post processing, but it's a really good camera generally, and I'm happier that it costs half as much as a Samsung. Should I get a yellow tang or a gem tang? Same price in the Netherlands. I prefer gem tangs, but I've never had either. So ask someone who's had them. I don't really like tangs for the most part because they're aggressive. The most interesting Hardy corals. Yeah, maybe. That's not a bad chat, actually. Thanks, Luke. Milka Stylo, Barley Green Slime. Oh, my God. We're way behind on the chat already. If you chuck a bag of Reefer in the sump, how long does it absorb for? And any tips on using it without a reactor? So I use it without a reactor sometimes in the Flevel Evo, although I'm going to stop now and go to water changes only. It's just not very effective without a reactor, but it does work, to be fair. How long does it last? Maybe a month. The best way to, probably you can allow for a month, but the best way to find out really is to keep testing your phosphate every day is probably a bit extra. Every week, test your phosphate twice a week, maybe. Yes, let's settle, shall we? We'll negotiate twice a week. Test your phosphate, and then when your phosphate starts going up, you need more Rofos. But yeah, it's just Rofos is a bit of a pain in the backside because you've got to change it. I have to change it quite regularly, but most people probably change it once a month, I would say. How are the test kits from Reef Factory? Don't know. They sent me a load of them. They sent me all of them, but I just like the Hannah checkers. So I played with a couple of them. They were fine. They were like the Sadafert ones, to be fair. So they're fine, but I just love Hannah. They're just really good. But yeah, I don't really have enough experience. But if they're the same as Sadafert, then they'll be good. Critical Reef, great to see you live. Was just wondering what rubbish to stick on TV. Oh well, here we go. There's a compliment in there somewhere. Do you think 15% water change is causing phosphate swings would cause STN? That won't be 15% water change won't cause a phosphate swing such that it will cause problems. No, not at all. No, I don't. Is the answer. Quack de Bleu is setting up a Fluval Evo. Whoop whoop, and I'm going to upgrade the return pump. Yes, you should do. I want to get a TMC compact. I found the 350. I was wondering if that would work since you only use 30% of the 500. Reason I use that, first off, I don't use that the TMC one anymore. It developed a fault whereby every time you put it into feed mode or unplug it, it flashed up an error code when you plug it back in. And it was just infuriating because I use feed mode all the time when I'm doing a water change. Otherwise, it runs dry. So I don't use it anymore. I sent it back to TMC. They couldn't replicate the error, so they just sent it back to me rather than replacing it. So I don't use it anymore because I don't. It's not for me. And I replaced it with a Jekord DC650, which I run at 100%, and it's brilliant. It's silent. And this is my home office. I work here every day, 9 to 5 on my proper job, and I record videos here, so I can't have any noise and I can't hear it. It's that good. So I would absolutely get the Jekord DC650, and it's cheaper as well, personally. So that's the one I would go for. What up, Dork? Keep up the good work. Merci bien. Peter Lynch, do you notice your Versapump often clogs when dosing calc? I don't. Actually, hang on. Yeah, so actually, I have one dosing to a Kalkwasser stirrer, and because the Kalkwasser is in the stirrer, you feed it fresh water, RIDI water, so that one doesn't clog. The other one is on my water box, and that does dose saturated Kalkwasser, and it doesn't ever clog. No, mine died after a month. Wow. I do find that the outlet crusts over, so every now and then, once a month maybe, you've just got to squeeze the crust off the end of the tip. That's not too weird. Tekka's Reef. I've some Nano Alex, I've the same Nano as you, but I have the stock light at the moment. Should be okay for the moment. Yeah, yeah, it's fine. Jekod 20, the 1200 Jebo, whatever it is, pump. I find a bit noisy. The DCS 1200 is weird. Most Jekod pumps are silent, but a couple of them aren't, and the 1200 I find just whines, just sits there going, and I can never get it to run silent. So I don't rate that one. And it's overkill for that tank, in my opinion. I'm surprised it fits, but cool. Anyway, stock light is fine. Yeah, it's fine. It would have been cool for me to have kept it, but I just really like better in inverted commas equipment. And the main problem I have with the stock light is that it's white or blue. You have to manually change it, and it doesn't ramp up and ramp down. I could live without the ramping, but I want it blue in the evenings and blue in the mornings, especially in the evenings. I want it blue, and I don't want to have to go over and manually flick a switch across because I won't bother. So that's the only problem I've got with it, really. It'll look after your corals just fine. So yeah, it's totally cool. I don't need to spend big bucks on a light, loads of light. You'll be surprised what light will grow corals. I bought a coral off someone. It was like a tennis ball size. No, he gave it to me actually. Tennis ball size Cyphastria, and it was in his sump for a couple of months, I think, growing under a sump light, and it looked healthy as hell, just under a purple Kato light. So, what's the best way of vermitives? They're a nightmare. Manual removal. There's a new snail that's been discovered that apparently is vermitid. I can't remember what it's called, but you won't be able to find it in the shops yet. But they're a pain in the backside. But I have vermitids in 2 of my tanks. I don't think I've got them in the fluval. Oh, no, I have actually. I have. I just live with them. Snap them off if you can do manually. But yeah, they're not the end of the world. Feed less if you're feeding coral food, like Red Sea Reef Energy. Stop feeding that because that will feed them. They're filter feeders. Andy Price, who has a bite. Is that an R1? I think that's an R1. Hey, my tank is completely sterile, as in no live rock, 11 months, but am I missing out on goodness? Is your tank okay? Yes, then no, you're not. I have one tank. Oh, no, in fact, no. I used to have one tank with live rock. I had problems with it, not because of the live rock, but it's not a miracle cure, basically. And none of my tanks have any significant amount of live rock. Some of them have a few kilos, to be fair, in the sump maybe, but no, it's not. I mean, some people will say they have much better success with live rock than with natural rock, but it's not like a miracle cure. So if you've got problems and your tank's looking a bit sad, it's not because you're not using live rock. Cheap grow light. Grow cheap at grow first. Dollar tends to be fussy. Man, yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Looking at Jake Mitchell is looking at getting into the hobby, and he has a 40-gallon Aqua Pro 900. No, I don't have any experience with that, I'm afraid. Are you still using the Calquaster Delta? Yes, I am, and that's the only one I'm aware of. It's so expensive. Deltec, please just make it 250 quid, will you? 400 quid is crazy money for that. But if you just close your eyes and hand over the credit card and just say, look, just put it in, just take my money and don't tell me, then you can. It's a really good bit of kit. It's just a shame it's 400 quid, but yeah, it's good. I won't be changing it. I don't think there are many other options out there, to be fair. There's a Reef Octopus one, but it says it's rated for, like, when you work out how long, it tells you how long the motor's rated for, and when you work out running it 12 hours a day, it's like 6 months. So I don't know if I'm missing something, but I wouldn't go for that. I'd go for the Deltec. It's good. And loads of people have used it for years. It's one of those pieces of equipment that's been good for years. People have been using it for years, and so they're like, well, if it's good, we're just going to stick with it. Don't bother upgrading it. J-Dam. I had an auto feeder dump week's worth of food into my tank, so parameters are off the charts while I'm battling them. While I'm battling and bring them down, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I noticed an outbreak of detritus worms. What's a detritus worms? Like do you mean like bristle worms? Which fish are good at keeping? No, if you've got too many, if there's a load of bristle worms, you don't want to buy a fish to eat them. They will self-regulate. So because you've dumped in a load of food, they'll probably grow more. But when you get back to feeding normally, they'll go away. Best silent pump for a fluval Evo, 13.5. Jekod DC 650 for the return pump. Jekod SLW10 for the power head. I have a Jekod SLW10 and a Nero 3 in there. The Nero 3 is silent below 50%. Above 50% is noisy. The Jekod SLW10 is fine up to 100%. And the feed mode button is better because it turns the pump off rather than onto the Nero one. You can only set it to go to 10% on feed mode. So feed mode, it still spins. And you want to put it in feed mode when you're doing a water change and exposing the pump to air. And when you do that with the Nero, because you can't turn it off, it just goes and you got to unplug it. It's like, just turn off. Give me the option to turn it to 0. All right. That's a software fix. They can do that. So, hey, Mobius, fix it. Do you turn your lights off at night? Yes, absolutely, 100%. I'm going to see if I can scroll through and find any other questions that I want to answer on my Tuesday night. Let's have a sip of beer first. A lot of repeat questions. Skip past that. Let's go right to the end. Kessels. That's whatever the question is. The answer is Kessel, basically. Like, my corals are dying. What should I do? Buy Kessels. My wife's left me. What should I do? Buy Kessels. My car's using too much petrol. What should I do? Buy Kessels. Anything like that. The answer is Kessel. What do you think of the Red Sea tank? It's good. I've heard there's been many cases of them leaking over the years. They sell so many that they're bound to have problems. Any tank is liable to leak at some point. I think that some of the Red Sea tanks, there was when they first upgraded to the 750 XXL and the 65 XXL, I think it was. I forget which one it was. A few years ago now, they had problems. There were reports of a few problems because the cabinet wasn't strong enough. And since then, they've strengthened the cabinet. So that probably tells you that Red Sea either agreed that was an issue or wanted to make sure that that was taken away so it wasn't an issue. But I would have I've got a 450 litre Red Sea tank. I've had it for 6 years. I've got no problem with them. I love Red Sea tanks. I think they're fantastic. I think I slightly prefer water box tanks, but there are pros and cons of both. So the water box plumbing is better. The Red Sea sump is better in my opinion, but you might prefer that. But they're both much of a muchness. They're both really good tanks. Get one that looks the best to you and fits the space you want in your living room. Best magnesium checker. Oh, do you check magnesium? Weird. I don't test it very often. I should do. What have I got? I've got Red Sea. I got the Red Sea one, so I would use that. Hannah, yeah, the Hannah checkers. The only Hannah checkers you want are the salinity tester, and you must calibrate that every time you use it because it drifts like a good one. You want the nitrate checker, the nitrate high range, the phosphate ultra low range, and the alkalinity DKH one. Those are the only 4 you want in total, and the salinity pen's different. So those are the only 3 checkers you want. The Hannah nitrate low range is awful. It takes 7 hours to perform a test, and you need a team of 35 employees to make sure you're doing the steps right. And all the others, they're just too much faff. But those are the ones that you want. Don't bother with anything else. Get Salifer or Red Sea or whatever. Where do you buy silicon for return pump? Yeah, I can only find that plastic green stuff. You can get silicon from Royal Exclusive in Germany. I think they only do small lengths of it though. I think most car water pumps are attached to silicon hoses, and whenever I've gone looking for silicon hosing in the past, sometimes you'll find aquarium specific stuff, but generally it's like car part stuff, and I'm always like, is that going to be reef safe? I mean, it's silicon, so I don't know. I don't know what the manufacturing process is like. Just Google it until you find something that's food safe or rated for aquariums or ponds or whatever, because you will come across them eventually. Don't bother with bumblebee snails for vermitids. It's not going to do it. Ice Cap and Avast Marine have canisterers. They're not as good as the Deltec one. They might be cheaper. Not available. I'm not sure if they're available outside the US. I'm gonna have another sip of beer. I don't think they are. I think the only one that's readily available is the Deltec one, and even that you have to order in from your shop, your local fish shop. There are a couple online. I think there's a Bubble Magus one. It looks a bit rubbish. Bubble Magus generally is, but it's cheap and it'll do the job. And there was another one. Maybe it was the Avast Marine one as well. You can get on eBay, but they just don't. None of them are as well designed as the Deltec. It's just the Deltec is overpriced. It's just good. SLW 10 was too much for Reef, even at the lowest setting. I've got mine at 100% and a second one. But fair enough. You can adjust what rate the feed mode is on. Yeah, you can on the Nero, but you can't set it to 0 using the AI software. Oh, AI. I use Mobius. Okay. So as far as I'm aware, you can only adjust it down to 10% at the lowest. It has a pump off button. Interesting. I have to look that up because it's a flaw otherwise. Katie's king. I have to say next step troubleshooting. Next steps on troubleshooting corals dying after making sure parameters are stable, doing an ICP, including RO, and checking equipment. That's most of it. Test and calibrate your salinity probe. I did a video years ago called "This is how to know your corals are dying," or top 3 reasons that your corals are dying, or something like that. And at the end of the video, I list the remaining 10. And I think there's a total of 10 reasons, and that is. It's a quick video, so there's no detail on everything. But if you write down the list of those 10 things, it will be one of those almost certainly. Might be a fish. After you've gone through all of that, if you've checked and you're confident that you've got it right, and you really have checked, and you're not just telling me you've checked, and you're not just telling me you've calibrated your salinity reader, then I would start looking at fish and pests. Maybe dipping them, that sort of thing. But it depends what coral it is and how it's dying. What does that mean? So, but it's almost always water quality. And I joke about Kessel being the answer to everything. Actually, water quality is the answer to everything. So yeah, do Hannah's checkers need calibrating? You can. I don't think you can calibrate them, but you can calibrate the salinity tester. You don't think you can calibrate the Hannah checkers though, but you can get. At least for the alkalinity one, maybe for others as well, you can get a reference solution. It's just a bottle of blue dye that is tuned to read 8 DKH or whatever. You can buy one of those and test it. Don't know if you can actually calibrate it on the back of that, but if it reads 8 when it's supposed to read 9, you know that it's off by 1 DKH. So you can get Hannah reference solutions. Don't know if you can for all of them, but you can for the alkalinity one. I just haven't bothered. Maybe I should. Beginner coral that moves, GSP. Yeah, pick bios. All right, I'm going to scroll forward a little bit because I'm going to wrap it up soon. What do you recommend for dosing? What do you mean? What supplements? What do I recommend? I mean, I don't think there's a best one. They're all probably roughly the same. They all do a similar job. Some of them are different. So some of them will have trace elements. Some of them will have will give you a pH boost, like ATI Essentials Plus gives you a pH boost. That is also more concentrated, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. If you dose a load of it, it's a good thing. If you don't dose much of it, it's not a good thing. I would probably recommend ATI Essentials Plus because it's what I use, but it's not necessary. And it boosts your pH and it does have trace elements. But I wouldn't say it's the best as such. And if you look around, if you ask around, the most popular ones will be probably Red Sea, not necessarily because it's the best, but just because it's the ones that's in all shops. But I don't think there's a best. I wouldn't sweat it too much, to be honest. Calquasso is probably the answer. I wanted to thank you for doing these live streams, and hopefully someday you'll make it your full-time gig. Manoj, I would love that, but I don't think it's going to happen. But hey, one day, maybe. The Nero Mobius can shut off to 0. Really? Drag down. Right, that's it. We're doing this now, Reef Keeper. Drag down, because I've been saying this, or I've said it a couple of times. Drag down a slider and hold for several seconds and it will turn. Oh, I see. Right. So you've got to hold. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a pain in the arse. The beauty of the Jekyll one is you just press and hold for a couple of seconds and bang. But I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah, fine. Best way to contact you for frags, Ultimate Reef. And in terms of contacting me, I don't ever sell them on YouTube because I don't want to clog it up with sales. I don't sell them on Instagram for the same reason. And if you contact me, I'm almost certainly not going to have. I'm not like a farm. I just frag corals occasionally. So the best thing to do is go on, sign up to Ultimate Reef, check the livestock section regularly, and every now and then you'll see that I've posted. But it's not regular. If you want frag regularly, you want prestigereef.co.uk, the UK's #1 coral selling website. And he has a lot of my corals, to be fair, because I've given him or sold him or exchanged quite a few for him. And so they've been in captivity for years, so they'll be hardy. I like weird fish. Welcome, YouTube member. Excellent. You now have access to videos early. So when I release them, obviously every other Friday at the moment is when normal people watch them. You will be able to see them as soon as I've uploaded them, which is usually a day or two before. So welcome to the club. Thank you for joining. Also want to know about algae eating crew urchin. Urchin. Urchins and water quality are the answers. Urchins, water quality, and Kessel are the answer to everything. Do you recommend using Reef? No, actually, I don't. As a general rule, it depends. I mean, the good thing about it is, it's a single. Like if you only want to use one dosing pump and you've only got a small space, then Reef is good. But it doesn't boost your pH, and that for me is enough to put me off. So no, I don't actually, and I don't like that it's all in one. I don't know why, I just don't like that. Even though I use one that's 2-part. So no, I don't. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's not personally for me, but for the right person. And if you buy a 3-part dosing, you've got to buy 3 separate dosing pumps or a 3-way dosing pump, which is expensive and it takes up more space. You've got more tubes going everywhere. So the good side of Reef is that you only need 1 dosing pump, so it's nice and cheap, nice and tidy. You only need 1 plug, which you might do for the 3-head anyway. But there's fewer tubes, nice and tidy, nice and neat setup. So yeah, it'll be right for some people. But personally, because it doesn't, after I found out from BRS that it doesn't boost your pH, I was like, nah, not interested. Maybe I'm following trends, but hey, what is the best time to add urchins to a new tank? When you are absolutely certain, and I mean certain, there's no ammonia. So because urchins are delicate little souls, and the salinity, they really don't like changes in salinity. Really don't like changes in salinity. So it's basically as soon as you've got fish in there that are, if you've had a fish in there for a month, let's say, and you know that it's not like lying on its side and it's not heavy breathing, it's not going to die, that is the time to add an urchin. Urchins are fantastic algae eaters. How to remove Aiptasia in a fluval evo? Pain in the ass. There's not really an easy answer. What are the little nudibranchs called? Bergia nudibranchs, probably the best answer, but a little Aiptasia eating firefish is a good idea, but a peppermint shrimp are a good idea, but they might eat corals. My peppermint shrimp, I did put in the evo to eat Aiptasia, started eating my torch coral, like a 200 quid torch coral. I was furious. Any recommendations for dealing with dinos? I tried the Dr. Tim's method. I don't know what that is, and it worked for about a week, but they came back with Avengers. I wouldn't go pouring in a load of bacteria or pouring in products personally. The Dino X is a product called. I wouldn't use that. For me, it's first off, it normally starts when you get 0 out your nitrate and phosphate. So get that back up to a sensible level. Don't need to be too high, just a sensible level, still relatively low. And then go on to Max Dino Flagellate Support Group on Facebook, and they've got much better knowledge than I have. The way I dealt with it was I had a frag rack that was covered in it, so I just threw that whole thing away, and the rockwork wasn't. I ran a UV sterilizer from the display tank, returning to the display tank. That's important, not from the sump. I got my nutrients back up to a sensible level, and that was it, and it went away. But Max Dino Flagellate Support Group on Facebook is the way to go. How to remove a large Aiptasia? Same answer. Maybe Aiptasia X or putty over it, something like that. But they're just a bit of a pain to get rid of. Can calc be dosed to raise pH while not raising calcium alkalinity? No, absolutely 100% not. No, and you shouldn't be trying to do that. It's the boost, the pH boost that calc acid gives you is a side benefit, a very, very useful side benefit, but is a side benefit. Yeah, James knows. Look at that. Calc is for KH, the pH boost is the bonus. Yes, I've said that enough times that people have remembered it. But no, it can't. Absolutely can't. And if you dose it just trying to boost your pH because you've watched a Chris Meckley video, then you're going to have problems. It's not that Chris Meckley's wrong. He knows a lot more than I do, but his method is not designed for a tank like that, for example. So there we go. All right. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up because I'm going to go and finish my beer. But thank you all for joining, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers, mate.